And here are the remains of the stucco made from the same soil that makes these reddish bricks. Notice how they rounded the bottom of the walls for some reason. With pillars like this, you can be pretty sure that there was a substantial building above us at one time. So this entryway, which was probably pretty interesting, just given those designs there, the remains, probably just gave access to the exterior area up on top here. Looking down, you can see that there was some terracing, so who knows if there were buildings there or whatever. Occasionally alongside the road you'll see a few, maybe a half a dozen at the most, of these beautiful red poppies. I assume that those archways were filled in. In fact, you can see it was over here, because they would have provided great strength for an entire large platform above, perhaps for even further building something in the way of structures. Interesting to see this internal structure. And still another tower outlined. And here I think another tower. And here below us people have their homes and gardens. What an interesting place this would be to live in. We can see the remnants of even more towers. I wonder what internal towers, what benefit they offered. Certainly the higher up they give a signaling capability to other forts, if there is such a thing. But imagine the men who sweated to put that big stone in place eons ago. In fact, this restaurant's doing exactly what I was talking about. A platform, no doubt, over arched ways below. You can see from here we're going through a relatively narrow exit door into another large part of the castle, including that church, which we'll find out about in a few minutes. This may be the 14th century Church of the Holy Trinity. The frescoes inside this cross-shaped church are partially visible and otherwise underneath the plaster, can you believe? It's not accessible, it's not open, it's too bad. Unlike some of the other fortresses I've been in on this trip so far, this one would at least be somewhat accessible on the hillside. It says here in this almost totally deteriorated explanatory plaque that the frescoes were painted by an anonymous painter in the 14th century. And theoretically there is restoration going on, although that's clearly not evident. The architecture is a type of a cross-shaped church with a dome resting on two columns which are reused antique fragments and two pillars. The cloisonnage technique gives the monument particular values if seen from the outside. That's spelled K-L-O-U-S-O-N-A-Z-A. Notice the red there, apparently outlining what may have been a roof profile. Looks like a lovely home, if that's what it is. I'm going to get off and wander these alleys. Don't know if that's a reference to Constantine or not. See the wood in there that they allude to? It holds it together somehow. I wonder if there's wood cross beams holding it together. And then right beside it, another. It starts to allude to a church. This is the Saint Maria, V-A-L-L-A, E something or other, E-R-N-A-C, church. Blachernae Church. This would be at the 8th and the 19th, no correction, the 13th through the 14th century. All the interior walls are painted, and the painter was Nicola, Onufri's son, in 1578. This restoration of that first church, don't know what its purpose was. We'll go up this alleyway. I wonder what the surface was covered with. Was it just stucco, or was there something more interesting than that? Notice these holes with the wax in them, so people would have burned candles here for some reason. Perhaps offerings there. You can see some metal supports to keep the building together. Of infrastructure in the process of installation. I assume all of these are chases for wiring, though that may be for water. This is probably for a sewer system. So this just goes to somebody's home. It's caught my attention. I didn't know what it was, but apparently it's part of a snake. Here's another church. Like a restaurant down below me here. So here I'm amongst unused ruins that are right in the midst of and contiguous to used buildings. Again, sadly, the people just use vacant places for trash, even by the bags full. Probably assuming at some point in time, Mama government will come along and a program and remove it all. These are probably local crafts. And here I'm willing to bet another church just has that look about it. You can see the design here. This may be a new building on an existing foundation or something. Or local craft. You have to say one thing for whoever occupied this castle at the time they did. Views were spectacular. Are today. Just imagine the number of people this would have held. I'm not sure how many people it holds right now as an existing, albeit smaller community. But to look at this canyon and see what its field of fire and view was. I wonder who T&W is, the manufacturer, probably like GE or something like that. It's interesting. There's the back of that church. Notice the interesting design that it gets because it's built on that hump and it conforms to it to some degree. So this project is financed by the European Union. It was seen to be a good investment. Stabilizing the tourist infrastructure, I think, is an important thing because tourism brings not only money but recognition in many, many different quarters. People simply know who Albania and what Albania is. I think I'm going down an old road, but maybe not. An old road that maybe was compatible in time with the trail I went up, which was really some stairway, and then stairways all probably cannibalized by people who were building homes in the area, and then the new road is off to my left here. Some lawnmowers.
Where are you from?
We are from America. America. Yep. And you are from?
Albania.
Okay.
I am from Miami.
Miami.